This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on, David Guzman with the Barrie Cardinals Soccer Club. David, welcome to the show, man.
No, I appreciate it, Jeff. I appreciate you having me here on the Good Neighbor Podcast, and I'm excited to spend the next little bit with you.
Yeah, me too, man. Sports related, kids related, all good things. It makes us feel good about being human. So let's get right into it, man. What is the Barrie Cardinals Soccer Club? What do you do?
So the Barrie Cardinals Soccer Club is a dream of mine that I've had for a long time, that I wanted to use the experiences that I had as a soccer player and hopefully create good experiences and opportunities for the kids today.
Yeah, I love it, man. And I see the soccer memorabilia behind you. I know you're watching a soccer game before you even got started, so it seems like you have a love for soccer, which is great. But all the questions have a point. They all have meaning on this show, but there's certain ones that are more fundamental, that share a little bit more about our guests. So the story of a human is a very curious thing. Like, how did we get to where we are? How did this vision get created? So you built the Barrie Cardinals Soccer Club, and you said it was a dream of yours because you've played soccer all your life, I'm assuming. But what made you decide one day, or maybe a series of days, it built up, I imagine, that I'm going to start my own thing and I want it for youth? What made you decide to open this and build that vision?
That's an awesome question. I'm literally getting like chills as I even think about the answer. I'm going to answer it kind of at the end and work my way backwards, if that's cool.
Absolutely,
you know, for me, the moment that it changed for me was at the end of my career. I was playing in Major League Soccer with Toronto FC. So I had some opportunity to play with the Chicago Fire. I eventually ended up in Toronto FC, but I got injured. Very young into my career. I tore my MCL. I recovered from that. I went on a trial with another MLS team, and a week into that trial, I tore my MCL again. So at that point, I was out for not a year. I was out for 2. And, just like sports, we can hire a younger guy coming out of university and stuff. So it was that moment, I entered a little bit of a depression because I had sacrificed my life to be there to achieve that dream. And I lost it. I lost it. And after I started recovering from that sadness, because it was truly a tough time. Like, I can say it with a smile on my face now, but when I was in that moment, I had lost everything, and when I got out of it, I met my wife, who is a huge motivator in this. She didn't even know that I played soccer when we met until maybe a year in, and she motivated me to start playing, start coaching again, or get into it. We had our son, and I said, I got to be able to lead him down a better road of opportunity than what I got, So it's kind of, that's where it stemmed in from, to create the Cardinals. But working my way back from that moment, my dad was in the World Cup pool for Peru in 1970. The Peruvian national team, they got eliminated by Brazil, the Brazil that had Pele. They actually beat Italy in the 1970 World Cup finals, and my dad was part of that group. So when they immigrated into Canada in 1980, I was born 5 years later in 1985, and of course he put me into soccer I think at 3 weeks old. I'm kidding, but he put me in super young, and at a young age I got my first international tournament at the age of 8. We left with my youth team, which at the time was Academy Argentina. We went to Cuba and played like a little international tournament. I grew up playing for Dixie Strikers out of the city of Mississauga. And, I played for the provincial team. We won Ontario Cup 5 times. From the provincial team, we won nationals twice. I got called to the national team at 13, you know, so I got to be able to play for Canada for 10 years, 11 years, up until the under 23 Olympic qualification in 2008 for Beijing. You know, we were one game away. We lost to the US, or we would have been able to go to that, you know. I played in Portugal for a little bit from 15 to 17, and then eventually I got a scholarship to the University of Louisville Cardinals, which ties into the Barrie Cardinals today. So, you know, that's me as a player. You know, I've been through soccer my whole life. I know what it's like to be a 13-year-old that receives a package in the mail with a letterheaded stamped national team logo, you know, and a welcoming invitation letter to your national team to represent your country. And those are the feelings that I hope with the Cardinals I can inspire children to believe that is possible. You know, on the outside of soccer as a person, I think that I've always been a person that I believe I can really beat you at anything that we do if I really try. Like, you know, so I don't always, you know, but I just that confidence and that self-belief and that ability to, you know, be outspoken and lead and things like that have always been a part of me, trying to make people around me better, whether it's through fitness or maybe grades, even though mine weren't the greatest. You know, I always tried to make the people around me better, and that's a really huge core value of what I try to do with these Cardinals, you know, because a cool stat that I always heard, it was a commercial in university, and they said 94% of student athletes will go professional in something else other than their sport. You know, so out of all those hundreds of thousands of student athletes and millions of under 13 and under 18 kids that are playing youth sports right now, only like 2-3% at most are going to play in the NHL or Major League Baseball. So our goal with the Cardinals is not just try to feed these kids to be, I'm going to be the next Messi and stuff like that. It's not only about that. It's about, you know, being good people, being a good teammate. You know, are you afraid to talk in front of your team when something is going wrong? Like, you know, are you able to communicate with your teammate what you guys can do better? So it's really about building life skills and try to have confidence at the foundation of that, because, you know, nowadays some kids, you know, even when we were young, the kids, you could be nervous and kind of shy and, like, you know, sit back with a group, and that's what we try to work on. We try to believe that every kid, you know, I matter, I'm important, I'm special, I'm capable of doing great things, you know. But we try to teach them, you got to put effort in. You can't say you want one thing and then not do anything about it and then get upset that you don't get it. You got to put in the work, right? And that goes with anything. So I don't know if you can see it very much, but our Cardinal logo, it's got a Canada leaf, obviously, because Canada is a beautiful country. Like, you know, it gave my family the opportunity to better ourselves. And at that point, my sisters are way older. They're 18, 19 years older than me. Yeah, I kind of say, you know, my dad, after all those years, my dad had a Saturday men's league game and he had a good game, and I guess he just celebrated, and there I am, you know. But
I thought that's where you were going with that. You had a great game, and all of a sudden, 9 months later,
later, my mom's got another soccer player. But, you know, that's really what we stand for, and it hasn't been an easy road, but it's been awesome. I was gonna say about our logo, sorry, it has a Canada because we're Canadian, we love the flag. It's got a soccer ball because that's what we play. Like, you know, we're soccer ballers, and then it's got a book because education is huge.
It's got a book on there. Lift it up a bit and go. Yeah, there it is.
So it's got a book right here.
Nice.
And then the soccer ball, the Canada logo, and then the Cardinals, right? So well done, man. I tell education is a huge thing, you know, just kind of mental health and physical health is a huge thing of what we do too. You know, we try to mention it at parents, you know, in front of the kids, mom, dad, you know, if your kids are falling behind in school, it's your responsibility to tell us right away, because school comes first. But soccer comes first over YouTube and Roblox and all these handheld things, right? So we try to implement these life skills and try to help the parents also raise their kids. My wife always says, you know, oh man, it takes a community to raise a child, right? I think there's a first part to that, and then the ending is it takes a community to raise a child. But it's true, right? And as parents, you know, with Amy, we've got a 12-year-old son, Torin, 8-year-old daughter, Savannah. So to be going through with them and be that type of example for them is also pretty cool.
I love it, man. What a story. So your dad's a professional soccer player playing in, what was it, the Euro Cup, World Cup?
In the World Cup, 1970. He also played professionally in Peru. And
then you played pro.
Sorry, I lost you for a sec.
Sorry, I lost you there for a second. You played pro? You played pro, Toronto FC. You went over to Chicago as well. And then 2 injuries essentially back to back.
Yeah. So it was tough. It was you know, truthfully, it was in the off season with some of the players from the team. We got together and we were just kind of balling out together. I went for a pass and somebody, pure innocent, you know, pure accidental, but somebody just blocked the pass. And as I came with my inside foot, I just hyperextended the ligament. So a very, very, very tough moment, because that happened on Boxing Day. Obviously, preseason for all these MLS clubs, even till today, start the second week of January. So when I showed up to BMO Field in a huge leg brace, it didn't go over well. Right. So
that was your MCL?
That was my MCL. Yeah. So no surgery required, nothing like that. But I think the time frame that elapsed in my absence worked against me, but also how close to each other they happened. Like, I literally recovered. I went on trial with the team that the year before I had gotten 2 assists in the game with. So we had tied 2-2. And 6 days into that training session with them, like that training camp with them, I wasn't even with the ball. I was actually checking in and checking back out in the midfield. And when I turned this way, boom, it just released again. So
yeah. So I mean, unfortunately, that was your pro dream out the window. And that's life, man. I mean, life throws us some curveballs, but it's amazing you got to breathe that rare air and play with such elite people. That's a special thing. Most of us will never do that. But from that, you pivoted, and now you're sharing your experiences, the values of sportsmanship, the values of camaraderie, bonding, learning how to win, learning how to lose, be on a team, to our youth, which is fantastic. So it may not have been your original dream, but seeing how passionate you are about the Barrie Cardinals, maybe it's a new dream. And I want to talk about that a little bit. So what is the age group? Is this boys and girls?
Yeah. So it's, we try to be as inclusive as possible. You know, it's from 3 years old. You got to be 3 years old. Up until
not 3 weeks.
14,
not 3 weeks like you.
14. No, you'd be surprised, because you know what? The community out there is right now, like, word of mouth is a powerful thing. And I think I heard an awesome quote at one of our training sessions with Toronto FC that I attended last year. And the coach said, people won't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Definitely.
Right. So that stuck with me huge on that day. And I was like, I think that is what works so well with us right now, is that people see how much our coaches care. Right? Like, how much our coaches are engaged with the kids, how much we're actually focused on the development, and things like that. So it's a good feeling. Like, you know, we've got boys and girls that are up to grade 8 right now, and as young as JK, going into JK.
I love it.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to ask you, because it is my all-time favorite show. I don't watch a whole lot of TV. I like reading behind me, and then work soaks up, you know, 80% of my waking hours. And then you'll probably find me in the gym outside of that. But this show was recommended to me by business leaders that are mentors of mine. Most of them were business leaders. And I thought, it's a sport show. What is a business leader doing recommending a sport show to me? And it's Ted Lasso. Have you seen Ted Lasso?
I've been told by so many parents, Coach, you need to watch this show. But honestly, I have not. I have not seen
it. It is like the show version of what I'm seeing from you right now. His whole thing is, first off, I just think he's an enlightened human, period. He's what I think a lot of us strive to be, still a flawed human being. But his whole thing is like to make these young men good on and off the field. It's not always about winning. It's about becoming good human beings. And I think that's really the name of the game.
Finding where your wins are, right? It's not all about winning, but in everything we do, something always has a win.
Right? Absolutely. So there's always an opportunity.
Yeah. But I should watch that show. I've had many people tell me. I don't do much TV watching. Yeah, this was on. The TV was on because my son was here. He's got an appointment he had to go to, so he didn't go to school this morning. Yeah. He was down here watching highlights. I'm like,
of course, okay. He's watching the sports highlights. Yeah. But yeah, if you can take a moment at your life at some point, I'm sure you won't regret it. You may find yourself crying through it. You'll definitely find yourself laughing. There'll be some frustration, but I took real life lessons from that. Many quotes. It's a fantastic show. But okay, so you got from 3 all the way up to grade 8, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it a regular soccer team?
So we've got so many different options, right? We want to be able to just be accessible to the community, from the kids that just want to play soccer because they just want to play, up into the kids that, we have kids that train every day, right? So we have our house league program, which everybody in the Cardinals family gets 2 trainings per week. Right. So our older kids, children born 2010 to 2014, for example, train on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then our younger groups, 2015 to 2020s, train on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Right. So we make sure that we try to keep the kids on the field as long as possible. And then they get 2 different avenues that you can kind of branch off from there. You can stay in the house league, which is just like any other standard house league, where you get all the kids that are registered in a certain age group. You have 80 of them. You pick 8, make groups of 10, and then they play their games, right? And then we have our competitive stream of the Cardinals, which the players are playing in the Huronia District Soccer League, right? So they have a game tonight. Our U14s play against Wasaga tonight. Our U13s are playing against Innisfil tomorrow night. And then on Saturday, for the first time, we're hosting Ontario Cup second round. We're playing against Glen Shields Juventus out of Vaughan. So we're hosting them at Eastview on Saturday at 3. And then our U9s play Thursday as well in Collingwood. And these are all our competitive prep teams.
So how many teams do you have?
So at the moment, we've got 2 competitive teams, 4 competitive prep teams, and 16 house league teams. 16
teams.
Yeah. So it's been an awesome growth, So we got sanctioning through Ontario Soccer in March of 2022. This is our 3rd summer we're going into, and we've got 265 children registered to the Cardinals.
Wow.
So the growth has been amazing.
Exponential.
Yeah, it's been awesome. We finished the indoor season in March with 128, and we started the summer in May with 265.
So you guys play all year round, indoor and outdoor?
100%. We try to make it work. So for indoor, it's like a futsal style, so the ball changes a little bit for development, and we're inside of school gyms. So it's like a hardwood floor. But we usually train at high schools and elementary schools. One of our goals is to evolve into being able to have another dome in Barrie. We have a dome, which they're doing a great job, but soccer-wise, I think even just turf-wise, the city needs a little bit more
room.
Yeah.
So how do people find out about you guys? How do people register? What's the cost? Like what's the buy-in to come and play?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to add one thing about the last question. You know, I just came to my mind just 2 weeks ago, May 18th, all these kids, we had a Barrie Cardinals club day with Toronto FC. So all the kids got to walk out with the players. They did all the national anthem ceremonies, the fireworks, the flags on the field. So it really is like, while we're on the field with them, it's like, yo, look at the people. Like, you know, how do you feel? Do you feel nervous? It's okay to, like, you know, this is what it's like. How does the grass touch the game ball? So it's really about just the look on their faces, like when they're walking out and looking around, they're like, they meet their favorite player and they're now holding their hand and walking out with them. Like, you can't take those things away. Like, that's exactly why we do it, you know? So
those are impactful experiences. Was that at the Toronto FC game?
Yeah. So it was just a couple of weeks ago when they played Montreal. They won that game 5-1. Right. So it was super cool. We had about 150 kids take part of that experience. There was 400 of us in total from the Barrie Cardinal community there at the game. And, you know, we did it with the Argos last year. We're going to do it with the Argos again in the fall this year. Even though it's not soccer, it's just experience, right? Being around the environment, seeing how players act, just being around there. That's exposure is huge. So, but to answer your next question, how do people get a hold of us? You know, it's
how do people register?
Yeah, barriecardinals.com. We currently have a wait list now, so the registration for this summer is actually closed. We're doing a strategic decision because we don't want to bite off more than we can handle. You know, we're an organization that's growing. You know, I'm thankful to God for the growth. You know, I couldn't have asked for it to go any better than what it is, but at the same time, we can't let it get out of hand and intake so many people just because of the sake of taking in people.
Right.
You know, we're a not-for-profit organization. You know, this is not something that we do because of the money, but at the same time, we don't want to lose the qualities, you know? So the registration for the summer is closed, but how people can get themselves registered for the indoor is info@barriecardinals.com is where people can send an email to. Our administrator, Amy or Jessica, will be able to add them to a wait list for our winter semester that starts in October. The cost at the moment, because we don't know how much prices change from season to season. They usually go summer rates 2023, summer rates 2024, and same thing for indoor rates, indoor 2023. So we haven't gotten an update on what it's going to be for this winter, but last year, the older age groups to 2020 to 2024 were $475 for indoor. So that runs from October until March.
And is that including their uniform?
So they get a training t-shirt. So the kids are responsible for black socks and black shorts and shin pads, and we'll give them a red training t-shirt. They get their 2 trainings per week, and then their house league days. So house league is something that we do. We added on as with no cost, because when the Cardinals first started, our prices have never changed. So since day one, that's a good thing. Or since day one, the older kids have been $475, the younger kids $325, and the super little ones $125. Right. So I feel good about that we haven't in 3 years had to raise any of our prices, and we've been able to create our house league stream for our members on a separate day. One thing that I don't like is when you have kids say, oh, they pay for summer house league, you give them a training and that same day they're playing their house league game. To me, we don't want to do that. We want parents to feel like they're receiving some sort of value aside from our training, because I think in my mind, that's the biggest value. Like, you're getting really good training. Is that good? Is that humble to say? No, I'm just kidding. But
Oh, I'm glad you're proud about your
yeah,
stuff. That's what parents want to hear. That's good training.
yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I definitely feel good about it. But like I tell all the parents, it's a long process. We're not going to be able to make your 4-year-old an extremely great soccer player in one season, right? It's going to take until they're 9 or 10 to really implement all the elements that they need to have a proper foundation for soccer, right? So those are the prices, and like I said, we've added the house league in separately, so they'll get their 2 days per week: Monday, Wednesday for the older ones, Tuesday, Thursday for the younger ones, and then on selective Saturdays they'll come in on separately solely for their house league game. So they have their mindset, even though they're house league, they kind of have like the mindset of a competitive player where they're training during the week and on the weekend they have a game.
I love it, man. And is the training done after school?
Yeah. So the first training starts at 5, and then we're usually on the field Monday through Thursday until 9 p.m.
And do you talk to them about grades or anything like that? Because I saw you brought up the book in your moniker there, your badge there, the jersey. Does school come up? Does educating come up? Like any training outside of learning how to play soccer, does that come up in your club a little bit?
One of our goals is I got a scholarship to Louisville, right? So
Where's Louisville?
Kentucky. Yeah. So we had study hall, we had tutors, we had times for the team to meet to make sure that you were doing your hours, your homework. That's a goal that I aspire to with the Cardinals. If I could have an after school program where I have a math specialist, an English specialist, expert, or sociology, whatever, any subject, and the kids can, report to the Nest. We have a training facility just by Mapleview and Veterans on 241 King Street, Unit 4.
You call it the Nest?
The Nest, yeah.
Nice.
Right? So the Nest for the Cardinals there. And if we could evolve and have something where, man, I can, not just me, but we can pick up the kids from school, we can get their homework done. They know that their grades are in line. As they get older, their SAT prep for their exam is going to start becoming a reality, getting them prepared for their SATs to hopefully get, a scholarship, even if it's D1, D2, D3. The Cardinals, our mission is to become the highest developer of youth players that enter the next level. So Toronto FC, Montreal Impact, Vancouver Whitecaps, all these professional clubs, their youth academies don't start until they're 14, under 14, right? So if the Barrie Cardinals can be one of the highest contributors of players that enter these programs at U14, that's what I want to be known as. I want to be known as the program that is the best for developing kids at a very young age. Once they're older, you got to go where your experience takes you, right? Once you're older, as long as I can prepare these kids and put them in the hands of people that will even be able to propel them even further than what I can, I'm all for that, And
let me ask you this, David, because I love it. I feel like if I let you just keep going, you'll just keep going because you're super passionate about it.
Love it, yeah.
So the question that keeps popping up into my head is, why the youth? Why are you so passionate about developing the youth? Like these really young kids from 3 to grade 8 is like 12 or 13. Like, what is it for you, man? What makes you feel so good about this, do you think?
Because I remember being in grade 6, and I remember being in grade 9, and I remember being in grade 12 and thinking about little challenges that I had. I remember moments that I was brave and my bravery helped me. I remember moments where I overcame my mind and I was like, maybe I shouldn't ask, or I should ask. And I'd noticed when I didn't ask, I didn't get what I wanted. But even though it was tough to ask, I got the result that I wanted, right? So I was always that young kid that If my friends were not wanting to go for a run, oh, let's ride our bikes today. Fine, I'll go, but I'm running. I'll just run beside the bike. Like, you know, so it's just that mentality that I know kids are right now are the furthest from adult reality. You know, once we get there, it's so many challenges that change, right? For us as young adults, adolescents, you know, you move out, all of a sudden you think you have all this freedom to do this or to do that, or like, you know, and that strong mindset has to come from like a young age. You know, and that's what really sticks with me. Like, I want to be able for kids, because they're out there. You have good kids, you have not so good kids, bad groups. There's so many groups, and I don't want to like talk bad about anybody, but you can imagine which little category you can fall into or get sucked into. And I just want kids to be able to have the confidence in themselves to know that by saying no, it doesn't really matter that other people are not going to think you're cool. You know, you're doing the right thing, right? So that's what it is for me, man. Like, it's really about just having these kids realize, like, I'm important. And it's not that I don't care what you say, but what you say is not going to make me act in a way that I shouldn't be acting.
Yeah.
You know?
So it just fills you up to empower these young kids with these life skills. Not to have an easier road, but maybe to avoid some pitfalls that the generation before hit, and also help them recognize their potential, what they're capable of, so much more than they probably think. That gets you going out of bed in the morning, essentially.
Oh, yeah. Let's go. Hard work, you know, the smile on these kids' faces. When you get to practice and they're like, hey, coach, I was at home, and they give you a hug or they give you a high five. It's like, there's nothing better than this, you know? And like I said, man, people won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah. And that's one thing at the Cardinals here. Like, I tell all the coaches, everybody at every training, you have to say each children's name twice before they go. And that's every coach. So there's 6 of us. Each kid's going to hear their name 12 times. Oh, but that's so many kids to learn. Learn them. Learn them. Let's go.
You said there's 6 coaches altogether?
No, I'm just saying there's more coaches. There's more coaches and volunteers. We have a group of, I would say, 11 coaches and 9 volunteers. That's another reason why we've capped the registration, is because we got to be able to manage our growth. You know, we're definitely looking for more volunteers, whether it's high school students looking for community service hours so that they can get their 40 to graduate, whether it's in administrative or social media or coaching, reffing. The club is going to continue to grow, and we're going to continue to need, you know, the help of the community as well. If you look at our Instagram, this is my quote. It's my favorite, but Rome wasn't built in a day, but I kind of added onto it. It wasn't built by one man either. Right?
Definitely not.
Yeah. It takes a bunch of people, and that's where the Cardinals are at right now. I feel like we're doing great things. I feel like we're coming into a competing environment, and it's nice to be in a city that I feel needed a little bit of a soccer enhancement and change to it. You know, we're the second club in Barrie that in 65 years. So the community has only ever had one option, right? So now to have our flavor of soccer enter the community, I think, and with the amount of people that are moving from Toronto to Barrie, I think it's a great thing for everybody to have the Cardinals here.
I love it, man. I love it, man. Just seeing that smile on your face every time you finish a sentence, it's great. Let's talk about you a little bit, David. So first off, I think what you're doing is fantastic. I would not be living the life that I live today, which I very much enjoy, without the sports that I played growing up. Hockey, certainly a lot of time in the gym. Golf, hockey was my competitive sport. Bodybuilding, also my competitive sport. What I learned about people, what I learned about myself, what I learned about handling pain, handling loss, handling winning, humility, being humble, having arguments with my teammate, camaraderie, all of these things that I learned without my parents being there when I was super young. You had to figure it out. You're part of the team. You're on the ice. even though you had adult coaches, you were on the ice with your guys. You had to figure it out on the ice. So there wasn't a lot of micromanaging. You had to figure it out. Those were instrumental life skills that were that opportunity was given to me at a very young age. Certainly wouldn't be living the life that I live now without the sports. If you pull that away from me, it'd be a very different life. So I love what you guys are doing. I love when something so beneficial and educational can be intertwined with fun. And that's why I love sports so much, because people just look at it, oh, what are you going to develop from hockey outside of the skill from hockey? It's like, no, there's education, there's life skills, there's people skills, self-awareness, all of these things that are being taught subtly through the avenue of that sport, soccer, hockey, et cetera, et cetera. If learning can be fun, that's the magic. And if you can give that to a young person, they will latch onto that, and who knows what they'll do with it. It's amazing. But getting into you, after talking about your business a little bit, we love to know a little bit more about the person behind the Barrie Cardinals. So I think I'm already learning a fair bit about what you've been telling us, but what do you do for fun, David? What puts a smile on your face outside of the Barrie Cardinals? What do you get up to?
You know what?
I soccer all day, every day.
Pardon? No. I mean, honestly, like I will always watch highlights. Like, you know, when I'm relaxing and just chilling at home, if I'm just laying down, I'm not watching anything else. I just watch EPL highlights, La Liga, maybe game review from our kids. But on a fun side where soccer is not involved, you know, I like to just have people over. I love company. One of the biggest things that I said, and I don't know, this is just my own relationship, but when I was starting the Cardinals, I said, God, if you help me make this grow, I promise I'm not going to be selfish with it. Like, I'm going to help people that need it. I'm going to, you know, share what we're building and just, you know, just help me make this grow. And as it grows, I never forget that. I never forget that. Like, you know, like I always thank him when I'm like, when we got the nest, I was like, I'm going to share this with people. I'm going to make sure that the kids are always here, that we're doing something and stuff like that. So I just like to have my people around. Like, you know, I like to have, whether it's my coaches, my family, my wife's family, like we've always got people here, you know? So I think even though I work so much, because as a husband, as a father, you're always kind of away because you're working, and, you know, you're always wanted more at your home. You know what I mean? Than you are, which is a great thing. But I think the fact that we're all always together is what I love to do. Family time, quality time. Like, you know, we go to Wonderland. Like, we have season passes to Wonderland.
Yes. So, do you get on the roller coasters as well, man?
So when I do now this year, only because my son's at the age where he wants to go on Behemoth and Leviathan and Wild Beast and all these bigger rides. Back then it was called Top Gun. And truthfully, I'm scared. Ever since I had kids, I am scared to go on these things. Like, I feel like this is going to be the last time my kids see me when I'm twirling, and I'm like, why am I doing this? But now that he's at that age, I'm like, I want to be on that ride with him when it's his first time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, like, even though it's your first time, like, I know he's still going to be scared. I want to be able to grab him and, like, you know, go with him and stuff like that. But it really is very simple. Like, you know, very simple. We don't do extraordinary things. You know, the Wonderland for this year will probably be like our family bonus, where we've spent, I would say, like a significant amount of money to do something. But other than that, just simple things. Like, we go on bike rides. You know, we got a little propane barbecue that we just strap on a backpack, take some meat. We'll ride down to the beach, you know, by Minette's Point or whatever. Just barbecue. Just do anything family. Like, you know, it's really
soccer
just
and family.
Yeah. That's
love
really
it.
what it is.
There's a lot to be said about that simple life. Although I got to tell you, even though you're saying it's simple, you're building an incredible club. There's nothing simple about that. Being a good father, a good husband, there's nothing simple about that. But I think when we think in societal norms, when we say the simple life, it's family and work rather than you flying jets and going all around the world and getting on yachts. That doesn't seem so simple to people. But I just, there's a lot of value in that simple life. I live a similar life. I don't have a wife or kids, but family is a major part to my life. My team on the business, spend all my waking hours with them, even outside of work. Just people, good people. Doesn't really matter what you do, just being out in nature. So I get it. But to pivot a little bit, I believe you've probably already alluded to this story, but we like to talk about doing hard things on this show. David, there's a number of things we like to talk about. This show really is an extension of me. So big part of my life is health and fitness. Big part of my life is philosophy and psychology, the books behind me, entrepreneurship, big part, doing hard things, right? Like finding out what we're capable of, human potential. These are the things that I study. These are the things that I work with. These are the things that are embedded into my team and my craft. So it comes out in the podcast with me and my co-host. And doing hard things is a motto of ours, because I believe to find out what you're capable of and the potential you have and how limitless a human being is, you need to find yourself doing something difficult, right? If it's easy for you, your body's just going to say, okay, what's the point of growing? We already know how to do this, so why change? Whereas when I bump up against a problem that I cannot solve right now, now I'm giving myself the opportunity to solve it. So that's one part of us talking about doing hard things or talking about our hardships, the pain that we've been through, the challenges. The other part of it is if you go on social media, and the reason I bring up social media is because it's consumed by so many people, and it's consumed more than anything else, more than TV, more than movies. And on social media, you will often find a version of life through kind of rose-colored glasses, right? It's all the pleasures of life, that comfortable, designer this, boats, cars, perfect wife, perfect husband, luxury. And I get why they promote that, because a lot of us have never tasted that before, and it is enticing, but it's not real, right? That's not all of what a human experience is, not just luxury and pleasure. There is the ups and the downs. And I wish we talked about the downs a little bit more, because without the downs, we wouldn't be who we are. Without the darkness, there is no light. There is no appreciation for light. So we like to ask the guests on the show, are there any trials and tribulations, life hardships that you've been through? Are you comfortable with talking to us about that? When you went through it, probably sucked in the moment, right? Because hard, the symptom of hard is it doesn't feel good. But when you look back in hindsight, who you are now, you wouldn't remove that ingredient from the recipe that has become you, because it's led you to living the life you enjoy today. Anything come to mind?
Oh, so many. So many.
I think about that MCL right away, but I imagine you have more than that.
Yeah, but even deeper, right? Even deeper than the MCL. The MCL was the end. Like, that was like the first ever injury I had, but that was like the end of my career road, But I got a couple. I don't mind sharing. You said to be open, and I think it would be cool for people to hear this side. When I was a younger soccer player, I think my career and my resume sound like awesome, but in that moment, I wasn't really a very nice person. I was kind of like very conceited. I thought I was entitled. If you were male, I wasn't really talking to you that much. Like if you asked me for an autograph or a picture, like or in and around my age and stuff, I'd be like, this is weird. So that is one of the main reasons why I think I lost my career the way I did, is because at the end of the day, even though I was accomplishing all these awesome things, I wasn't using my gift the way I was supposed to be, and at times I didn't learn this until later, but maybe at times I was hurting more people with my gift than I was actually helping people, you know. So to tie in my personality when I was an active player into my mindset when after I got injured and I was in my, let's say, my depression, which lasted 2 years, 2.5 years before I even got any motivation to pursue something else, you know. That would be one. That was a tough moment because I was like, how could I be so mean? You know, how could I be just like acting if I was Messi? But come on, like, you know, at the end of the day, I was playing in Louisville. I was playing for TFC. Yeah, that's fine and dandy. But in the grand scheme of things, I still had so much more that I could have and should have accomplished before you could even justify, if you even can, having that type of personality, you know? So that's one thing that sticks with me to this day. Like, I know I'm a good soccer player. I still have the same beliefs. I still feel I can beat you every time we play, even if it's the next 100 times, whatever. But I'm just having fun with people now, you know, like I'm appreciating their appreciation for me. You know, I'm appreciating the fact that they're entrusting me with their children. You know, that's a huge thing. I don't just send my kid to everybody, you know, to sleep over here or babysit there. Like you know how it is, or you can imagine how it is. You want to know the person before you send your child to go play there or whatever. And to have, I can think of all of them, like to have like 60 kids right now that have been with us since day one is huge for me. Like these parents are like, yo, I don't know what you do with my kid, but this kid like feels unstoppable, you know? So that's one. Another tough situation for us that we had to overcome is basically everything with my wife as a couple and what we've had to experience together, you know. So we met in 2010, which was like 3-4 years after I stopped playing, and we met at work. When our workplace found out that we were dating, they fired us because it was I don't know if you've heard about it, but Music Nightclub downtown at Exhibition.
It was one of my favorite.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know music, baby. I know music. This guy's like, yeah.
Yeah, the glass room at the top.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times. Yeah, it's been a while.
For all the good neighbor listeners, Jeff's been popping bottles at Music Nightclub there.
Yeah, most of them know I have a colored history for sure. But so
we met there, and it was like a strict policy, like, you know, with the girls because of the high-end customers and stuff. They wanted just a atmosphere of like availability and all this stuff. So when they found out that my wife and I we were dating, they put us on the no call list and we never got called back. So we lost that job. It was like catch up and struggling right away. We quickly, within a year, got pregnant. So we had Torrin within a year and 9 months. And that was kind of shortly after my soccer career had ended, you know. So I worked at Boston Pizza. That was my first ever job that I had outside of soccer. I was a waiter at Boston Pizza. Mm-hmm. And then from Boston Pizza, I juggled around between different nightclubs like Embassy and Music and Metro. I was just working as a barback. And it's those challenges, like in those moments, even though I was like feeling better, it took me a while to get past that. What the heck am I doing here? Like, you know, like former teammates would come to the club and then I was behind there, like getting the ice and filling the orange juice. And they'd be like, Goose? I'd be like, yo, bro, like, you know, I'm here, you know. But it's just those moments where I just kept telling myself, if God puts you to it, he's going to put you through it. And me being I told you that, like, my confidence is like here. So I'm always like, yo, even though it's going to be hard, I'm going to get it done. We can get it done. We can get it done. So we just stuck together. We just stuck together, and through tough times, like the whole process has been a moment where we've had to catch up and stay tough and stick together. But without her, I wouldn't be able to do this, you know. So we had Savannah. I'll wrap it up quick. The last little bit, like I'll give you three. So the first one was my attitude. The second one was just the overcoming of life, having a baby, not much family support, no job, one car. Like, you know, we could have given up right then and there. Like, if I tell you the truth, we lived in Oshawa. She got pregnant. She's high risk pregnancy, incompetent cervix, super like very complicated every week at Mount Sinai, twice a week. I rode my bike. I rode my bike from Oshawa to Ajax for a 3 p.m. shift, 45 minutes to my shift. And when I would come back, if I got lucky, the GO train would pass Highway 2 and the guy would let me on. And I'd get home at like 1. So like for me, even though this is the uncomfortable part about knowing me, because when guys get around me and they're like, start making excuses, I'm like, yo, you just don't want it bad enough. Like, you know, so it's kind of your fault right now. And then, you know, if you say that not to the wrong person, but the person that's like a little bit maybe insecure or not as confident in their own self, that can really like break somebody down or not want to have you around them, you know, because it's like, yo, it's pressure that they don't want. But that's just kind of the type of person that I am and what helps me get through, you know. So then the last one would be
also help build somebody up, though. Could also help build somebody up.
Yeah,
right?
as long as you can trigger a thought, you know. What people don't like challenges, but if you can, you know, motivate them to get comfortable feeling uncomfortable,
that's it.
They'll make progress, man.
That's the whole point of this question. It's like, you know, some people will hear that and be like, no, I don't like this guy. He says my excuses aren't valid. Fine. They can take it that way. But to the next person, that tells them, you're giving me these excuses. That means you don't want it bad enough. That tells me right away, if I want it more, I can achieve it. Yeah. That my excuses are my own obstacles that only I am putting there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just glad you tell them what you truly believe. I think as human beings, as long as we tell each other what we truly believe with compassion, not with malice, then we're giving them the opportunity to figure out who they can become. But you were about to add a third one. I just wanted to interject there because I think that was a very important point.
Yeah, I agree. You know, but that third point would be in 2016, I started the precursor to the Barrie Cardinals, which was That's Goose Soccer. So That's Goose Soccer was a program that I started. The That's was DATS, play on words, but that's David, Amy, Torrin, and Savannah, my wife and my 2 kids. So it's That's Goose. Our last name's Guzman, and then soccer. So I was like a personal trainer. And basically kids from many different clubs started coming to me a couple of times a week as an extra trainer. So they would play with their team, and then on their off days, they would come train with me for ball work or conditioning, strength, whatever. So eventually That's Goose grew to like 100 kids, 120 kids. I was just personally training so many kids. And one day the parents asked me, Coach, you got all these connections, all this stuff. When are we going to take the kids to a tournament? When are we going to go play some games? So when I tried to go play a game, Ontario Soccer said, you cannot do this because you are a trainer. You are not a sanctioned club. If you want to play games, you gotta be a completely different entity. So I said, okay, so how do I make That's Goose a club? They're like, well, and then that's when the process started. I had to submit an application for the Cardinals to transfer from training program. I mean, for That's Goose to transfer from a training program to the Cardinals as a sanctioned club. They had to go over all the reviews, our finances, our books, our compliance with our permits departments, everything. So that took about 2 years. And then this is where the overcoming part comes, right? So the Cardinals got voted no to have membership into Huronia District. So it's kind of like a union. When we put our application, they sent out a letter to all the clubs saying there's one new team coming in. Does anybody have any objections? And one team objected. So they objected with a whole bunch of lists. We had a hearing, and I lost that hearing. You know, the only thing that saved me in that hearing, truthfully, is I came with legal representation, and this other club came like a bully just trying to flex me, right? So the lawyer kind of saved me. I reappealed the appeal, but this time, instead of going to our district, I took it to Ontario Soccer, and 2 weeks later, the Barrie Cardinals got sanctioning. March 24th, 2022. The day of my birthday.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, let's go.
Right? Let's go.
Right. So in those moments, it was like everything. When I got the denial in that first hearing, it was like everything was done. Everything could have been done. My wife was like, "You tried everything you could. That's it." Like, you know, and I was like, no chance. Like, I had some help too. I had some help. Like, connections matter. My provincial coach at U13 at the time when I was doing this application was the president of Ontario Soccer. So I sent him a message. He helped me out, gave me some guidance, right? And yeah, so now we're here. Like, you know, even though people will try to stop you, like, you don't actually have to stop. Like, you know, you can keep going. I stuck with what I believed in. I stuck in with what I wanted. And now, you know, we're 16 house league teams deep. We got 4 developmental teams, 2 competitive teams. The kids are having,
and that's what
fun.
I'm
on the Good Neighbor podcast with Jeff Gardner. Let's go. You know, it's good.
Yeah. And that's what I'm hearing from all this. That's why we ask that question, right? Sometimes people will just say, you know, I went through a hard thing, and that's the end of it. And then I'll try to pry a little bit more, dig deeper. It's like, what did you learn from that? Because there's always an opportunity there to be taken advantage of with every hardship we go through. But I didn't even have to ask you that. You took us through the attitude. Then you took us through your challenges with your relationship. Then you took us through the overcoming. 3 different challenging points throughout your life that pretty much all of us humans will go through at some point. I would say this is the nicest and kindest version of me, but I was certainly a dick in my teenage years, in my 20s. No question. The people that are in my life right now probably wouldn't have liked that version of me so much. I didn't like that version of me, but that's all I knew then. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I needed to learn the things that I needed to learn. But attitude, relationships, and then overcoming obstacles has all led you to this point. That's the whole point of that question. So when people are listening to it, sometimes entrepreneurs come on here and they're very successful. Like, their businesses are doing 20, 25, $30 million in revenue a year. So they are a millionaire multi-times, or a millionaire many times over. And some people will look at that as success. However you want to define it, that's not the point. But when they come on here, they've already made it. And then when somebody says, these are the challenges I went through, my father passed, I lost a child, you know, I was depressed for multiple months, it makes it more understandable for the average human to listen to that and be like, if they can do it, I can do it. And to hear your struggles, to go from, you know, the height of the heights, professional soccer player, down to working at a bar, I imagine that was a very humbling moment for you, riding a bike back and forth to see your wife to your job, hopping onto a GO train. Those humbling moments can really make us into something exceptional. Even though you already had an elite skill as a professional soccer player, you mentioned shortly after that, like, it was my first job outside of being a soccer player was at Boston Pizza. So I imagine that was a big pivot from the dream, but you turned it into this. So I really appreciate you sharing those stories, man. They were pretty open. They were pretty raw. But the outcome.
Can I add 2 little points there?
Yeah, hit me, man.
Because I want to,
before we wrap.
Another thing about, just for people to help, I'm still employed I'm a crane operator full-time at CN Rail. So I have a full-time job. I've been at CN for 11 years, since 2014, coming up on 11 years. So everything that I told you about riding the bike happened before 2014, but everything as of 2014 with Dad's Goose, the national team, the coming Barrie Cardinals, is all been done while I've had a full-time job on night shift. So my shift is 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. You know, over time, my employer has given me a little bit of leeway in the sense of realizing that what I'm doing is not a pipe dream. It's actually something that's evolved and is legit. But you just got to push through. You got to be a beast. You got to believe in yourself. And at the end of the day, like, you just got to push, right? That's one. The second thing is, I just want to explain to everybody why we chose Barrie Cardinals, right? So the one obvious reason is I went to the University of Louisville Cardinals, right? So that was the one connection. But the second thing that made it so special was with my family, we went to the Kempenfest festival downtown that they host every August or July. And we listened to one of the pioneer presentations that they had at the Meridian Hall, or the stage there. And they said that 100 years ago, the city of Barrie was heavily populated with the cardinal bird. And that the community, even though there wasn't many people in Barrie, when they're called the Vatican, a group of cardinals, when a Vatican of cardinals would land either on your front lawn or on your fence in your backyard, it was the people took it as a sign of hope for better things to come for the city. So when I heard that at Kempenfest, I looked at my wife and I'm like, 100% Barrie Cardinals all day. She goes, yeah, for sure. Right. So it was a really cool connection because, you know, God works in mysterious ways, you know, to know maybe, I don't know, well, maybe when I was in Louisville, he knew that the Cardinals would be a thing in the future. Right. But it's just really cool, man. All I can do is just be grateful and just let the parents and the listeners out there know that the Cardinals are here for you. You know, barriecardinals.com. It's my phone number directly that's on the website. Because when we started, we were small, so I put my phone number on there, but now I got like 1,000 messages a day, so we're going to try to change that up. But, you know, and info@barriecardinals.com is the best email to get any information and a response. And, you know, I appreciate your time. It's been awesome. I can talk all day, but I appreciate you having me. Like, you know, I think you're doing an awesome thing too with the Good Neighbor podcast here and for the community. And we're on the same mission. You know, we're on the same mission to, you know, build a better community, a community that's more united, a community that realizes that there's other young entrepreneurs and young people out there just striving for the same goal. And like I said, man, we can't do it alone. So, you know, kudos to you and big ups to you too for doing what you do, because look at us, we're strangers, but we just had an awesome time. And now I want to invite you to come to the Nest on Fridays and play pickup soccer with some of the coaches, see how you do, you know, have some fun.
Get this hockey player out there to play some soccer.
Why not? And then one day we're going to get all the coaches, we're going to come play some ball hockey with you. We're good. Right. So,
I love it, man.
Yeah,
David, it's been a pleasure. I love your story. I really do. I think it's so poignant to that human experience, the highs, the lows, the pivoting, the changing, the adapting, the believing that we can accomplish great things no matter what stage in life we're at. And we can do great things and build up our community at the same time. It doesn't have to be me building up what I want and hurting other people, much preferably and very possible to build up our own life and help other people along the way. It's a fantastic story, man. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. I look forward to chatting again.
Yeah, bro, for sure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Until we chat again, enjoy the rest of the day.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Midhurst. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpmidhurst.com. That's gnpmidhurst.com or call 705-413-3775.